We are totally professional.
Guys, I'm exhausted.
Absolutely professional.
Okay, I'm so tired.
I've never felt more professional in my life.
I'm
Than I
really
do
good,
right now.
but I'm really tired.
I'm button this up
Oh, good.
all the way.
Do it. So,
What do you think?
we have a really kind of challenging topic today,
Yes.
and so we're gonna try and keep it condensed and concise. Oh, I've got to look at two different cameras. Oh, there's Elia. Hi, Elia. Hi. So, yeah, we are in what looks like Odense, but it's Once. We've learned how it's pronounced.
But I don't
Once.
even even try. I just let the professionals say it.
That's right. Well, we are the professionals now, son.
Yeah, but
So
and we are in Scandinavia.
that's right.
So
There's Jane.
oh look, you can see my face. Look
Jane.
in the glass. Can you see it? All right, never mind. Oh hey Jane.
All right. Hey,
Catherine.
hey, Catherine. So I think a lot of you know that Norman and I made our television debut yesterday as a couple. I was on the day before, and
Yes.
it's kind of overwhelming. It's a totally new way to be in the entertainment business. It's really unusual being in front of the camera. I mean, this was sort of a little bit of training, but hardly.
Well, yeah, because we control everything in this setting. We're
Yeah.
just talking about what we want to talk about.
Right.
It's really relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Doing that because she did it the first day, and then did part of that day by herself. Hey, Daniel Privet. And then
I just see what the effects are.
oh, nice. And then the second day, she was supposed to do the entire day by herself.
Oh, well,
So,
I did. Well, yeah, that was.
and then because she did part of the first day by herself.
I did the afternoon on my own.
Yeah.
So just a little bit how this works.
Yeah.
We are working for Medici TV at the moment, which is the world's largest classical music platform.
Yes.
And they're an amazing platform.
It's great.
They bring classical
Fantastic.
music all over the world, and they support a lot of great artists. And so we just say, hey, Medici, that's a great thing. And we say, hi, Jane Helvey. And so they first invited me. I had an interview in Paris, I guess about a month and a half ago or so.
Maybe. Yeah, something like that.
They invited me to come and to be the commentator / moderator, presenter, whatever, for the Carl Nielsen International competition for the flute section, because I was actually a flutist for 10 years before I was a singer. So that gave me enough qualification to sort of know what I'm listening to. And but then it turned out that I was going to be on my own. And that's not so bad, except you have to imagine you get there at 9:15, you do sound checks, you do whatever. At 9:45, you start live on television. It's unscripted, so you're going, you're explaining where you are, what's happening, and trying to bring a bit of content in for the viewers.
You have like a little bit of information, but it's just you're basically just making it up.
More or less.
More or less making it up.
Your job is to do interesting interviews with guests. So we've been interviewing guests from the panel, judging panel.
I mainly let her lead those.
Not really. And
not really.
No. And then it's your responsibility to fill up. So we've been talking now almost 4 minutes. So this would almost be the end of a segment. Each segment before each competitor is about a 5-minute slot.
Minutes.
You have an earpiece in, and then somebody tells you, you need to actually fill 2 minutes. And then it's after 2 minutes of talking, you go, what am I going to talk
Daniel's
about now?
asking, well, would you guys ever sing yourselves on the show? Let me tell you something. I wrote a song yesterday.
Yeah, if you go on my Instagram stories.
My Instagram, or if you go on Sula's, I wrote a song that is killer
It's
I sang on the air.
It's so funny. Norman actually did.
And I'm
song.
it's going to be I think it's going to be my theme song on the show.
Oh, good.
I'm going to be using that one again.
Let's just do one thing at a time.
And
but anyway, so.
But that's the only thing we'll be singing on the show, though. I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is a serious competition. It's a serious.
It is,
prize.
yeah. You have to get to balance the humor with how the seriousness.
We don't know what that relationship will lead to. If it will lead to more things like this, but for the time being, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so then each competitor plays for 30. They have a 30-minute slot. And if they don't use all their time, then we come on and have to fill that time. And
Yes,
so
indeed.
that's also really challenging. And so that goes, we're there from 9:15 until 6 o'clock at night. And we get a 40-minute lunch break. But otherwise, we're there. And when the competitors are playing, we are listening to them because we want to talk about their
You take
performance
notes and you talk about
and support
what they
them.
did.
And so
It's great. And they, I mean,
it's a different kind of
this
attention.
group of people,
Oh,
my
they're
gosh,
incredible.
they're unbelievable.
So the judges had a pool of 250 pre-selected candidates that were all incredible, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
They whittled it down to 24. And then
that's what we heard.
We heard all
We heard the
24 over
24.
2 days.
Yep.
So they each, 24 half
Oh,
hours.
we heard 23.
Oh, that's true, yeah. One guy
One
dropped
guy
out.
didn't, he
And
dropped it.
then you have the 12 who make it to this set round 2.
Yep.
And then it'll be the
And then it'll
semifinal
be
6.
six,
Anyway, it
and
goes
then
down to 3.
And then-
And so we're here until the end of the month doing that.
But you do it, but I don't. I only do it.
Yeah.
I do it tomorrow, and then that's it.
That's
for
right.
me.
And
then
anyway, so that's
a
the deal.
professional comes in.
Hey, there's Medici TV.
That actually
Medici
knows.
TV.
Hello,
We're
Medici
just
TV.
talking about how
We're
great
talking
you are,
about
how
you.
much fun it is to do this interesting new challenge.
That's right.
Hi. So that's basically it, and that's what
Yep.
we're doing here in beautiful Onse, in Copenhagen.
How do you say it again?
Onse.
Once.
Yes.
It's like almost
and
like
I want to
Navi.
encourage all of you guys. This is super fun.
Once.
We want you guys to partake in this because you can win a free subscription to Medici TV, which, as we said, is a great online platform for classical music.
Yes.
And they support classical music all over the world. Hello, Christian, my amazing colleague from day one.
Hello.
We want to encourage all of you. We're going to get into our topic, which is like a pretty serious topic. Last week, we sort of did a spontaneous topic from the airport because we were traveling. 1 week ago today, we were traveling from Jacksonville, Florida to Vienna. Yeah, it was a week ago.
Oh, there you go.
Remember when you did?
No wonder I still feel tired.
Norman sang 2 Verdi Requiems back to back in all of the orchestra rehearsals. We got on a plane, and then, yeah. Anyway, but we want to encourage all of you guys,
Here we are.
people who are going to watch the replay and people who are on live right now, guys, we want you all to enter for a chance to win a subscription to Medici TV.
Do it.
The Carl Nielsen Face Challenge. You can Google who Carl Nielsen was.
Yes.
He's an amazing Danish composer, the most important Danish composer.
Yep.
And he really had a sense of humor, and we had a lot of fun. If you see on
Hashtag.
if you saw on my Instagram yesterday, we did our entry.
Yep.
Probably it's a conflict of interest because we work for them, but anyway, the Carl Nielsen Face Challenge. Carl Nielsen had a funny sense of humor.
Yep.
He loved to make faces.
You'll put your face on there.
And just Google him. You'll get the idea. Use the hashtag Nielsen2019 to enter for your chance to win the subscription.
Yep.
It's just a lot of fun.
Do it. It's fun. It is.
Yes. And
Fun,
so,
fun.
there you are. Norman.
That's my song.
Yoo-hoo.
Although I did a little variation that time. It wasn't exactly the melody. I'm rolling my sleeves up, and evidently that's taken me about 15 minutes.
Yeah, you're really going to town.
I'm really trying to organize my stuff.
Okay, well, we've already eaten half the time we said we were going to take to...
Well, that's good. Now
to
we
do
can
this.
talk for like 10 minutes
Oh, right.
or like an hour and a half, whatever everybody's feeling. And
Well, the
then
problem with
we'll
that is that YouTube only lets me upload... I was able... Actually, it's a lie. I was able to upload like a 35-minute video last time. Anyway, so our topic today is...
It's a really light one.
When we did our talk on auditions and how to have successful auditions, we talked, we just blew out there 4 different kinds of fear that we had experienced while doing auditions and that we had to overcome because after a while it just wasn't worth it.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, and there, one of the things, first of all, is there are more types of fear than what we're going to talk about today.
Sadly.
Sadly, there are more types. These are just a few. These are just a few types that we wanted to talk about. And actually, Sula wrote, it's going to be an article, that's what we're pulling this from.
Yeah, our first
that's going to be
full-length
on
article
the
on
livingopera.org that she'll put on there after, I guess, because we're going to make this a 2-day thing. It's not just going to be
I
1
think
day.
we have so much material, it'll have to be
We're
for
going to
2 days.
split it up to keep the videos shorter.
Yes.
So yeah, here we go. So,
Okay.
first of all, the first thing we want to say is these are particularly are all based in kind of a fear of what people think.
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
and which
we've
is
all felt
everybody feels that all the time.
Oh wait, let me just quickly say what they are because we've already
Yes.
I've already said on social media what we're going to talk about, but we already said it during our talk on auditions and why auditions are so hard. Usually, if you're having a ton of trouble doing auditions, one or all of these will be manifesting or something else completely, but it'll usually be some sort of a fear-based thing. So it's the fear of being judged, which my argument in this article that I wrote is that everything stems from that. And by the way, Norman is my editor, and he's really good because he's like, hey, that doesn't make sense, or that maybe you should reword that. And so usually when I don't write that often, but
I didn't
yeah,
really
you
do that much.
Yeah, you do. Come on. I write, he edits, or vice versa. We haven't written anything together yet, but we probably will.
No, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
we should.
Okay, so there's the fear of being judged. There's fear of criticism.
Yep.
Fear of rejection.
Yep.
And then finally the fear of failure. Yep. And we believe they're all connected. And I think we need to say this at the very beginning. We are not professional psychologists, psychiatrists.
Lord, no. No.
We're
we
singers.
need actually to work with people like
well,
that.
we did.
We did, and we
of,
do, and we will continue to.
It's part of what
which
we
is part of the point.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
there you go.
Whew, okay, so I just feel like a lot of weight attached to this topic.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, and also, guys, anytime we're talking from our experiences and saying what worked for us, we're hoping it's going to work for you, but we're not saying it has to work for you.
Yeah.
And so you take this with a grain of salt, you evaluate it, you test it out in your life, and then you do what you want, because we are the last people to say, do this, or it's not going to...
Well, we also do this, and it's absolutely going to work.
Yeah. But this is what worked for us.
Yeah.
This is how we try to live, and this is how we hope you're going to get some breakthroughs in things that you're facing, particularly for the young performers out there who might be really having a hard time when they get in public performance or auditions or public speaking, or if you find yourself with a TV camera in your face one day for some reason, like, how does that even happen?
So this is a TV case, camera.
So...
It's an iPad.
All right, do you want to, I thought you had a really good point in the beginning, or...
Which was my point in the beginning?
It was in your notebook. Okay, well, we don't have
I can get my notebook, it's right here.
Oh, just get it. Yeah, get your notebook out. Just a second. We'll get the notebook.
I got it. Actually, this is my professional number.
It's kind of weird because when we're doing the stuff for TV, we don't actually see our faces, and then seeing yourself is super distracting. And I have to look in the camera, or it's like I'm never.
I know. Well, what you do is you end up, instead of looking at the camera, you just look at. I look at her, or I look at me, or.
Yeah, but you never see yourself.
I look over there.
I don't know if you know how many layers of makeup I had. Like today, I just put eye makeup on. I don't have any powder on, so like my skin has to breathe because every time you go on, they powder you, and so I think I had like 20.
I'm a little shiny today. I'm a little shiny.
Are you feeling shiny?
I'm feeling shiny.
No, but I think I had like 20 layers of powder on by the end of the day, and it was like. Anyway, okay, so jumping into the fear of being I'm not selling it, sorry. You can see that I'm nervous. Like this is almost like when we did the rejection talk.
Yeah,
because
we can
I'm
get
like,
on it. Here we go.
I want to tell you guys like important stuff. Okay.
The first thing is we've already said this, but it's based in a fear of what people think of us, what people think of you, what people people think of us when we sing, when we work, whatever we're doing. Yeah. And the beginning of this particular article is Sula writes, "Judge not lest you be judged," and we've all heard this saying. We all know about this saying. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have assessed what that means. And so...
like it just sounds like just a thing.
It sounds like talk just for talk's sake without actually knowing what that means.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things for me when it comes to that kind of a thing, one of the big things about judgment is that judgment is different than disagreement. Yeah. The aspect of judgment that we're talking about here is when there is ill intent in what is being said.
That's right.
So when somebody's saying something to you or about you, you can oftentimes tell the nature of what is being said, because the we need, we need to be challenged, and we need people to say, hey, maybe think about this or think about that. And that's good. But then when the intent comes to hurt, to injure, to manipulate, to whatever, then we get it. That's where we get in trouble, and that's the judgment that we're talking about.
Okay, that's good.
So
That's good.
there you go.
So, when I was thinking about judgment, and I was thinking about this business in particular, classical music, but it's kind of in every business.
It's in everything.
And a successful business is built on trust.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't trust somebody you're in business with, it's not going to go very far. Anything that requires building requires deep trust. And so it's built on relationships, but because it involves people, it's also based on opinions, and that's where it gets a bit murky.
Yep.
That's what's hard about it.
Yep.
And, of course, the nature of art, how can we say this? The execution of it, really good art has objective things that it contains,
Yeah.
but the appreciation of it is highly subjective,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
So
There's where it comes in.
we want to be objectively evaluated
Yeah.
as singers based on our skill level and all of that. But oftentimes we're just subjectively picked,
Yep.
right? Based on a person's feeling on the day, or or whatever the need is of the theater. You will, as you go on in your career, be turned down by a theater only to be called by them later saying, "Oh, could you possibly?" And so
Yeah, that happens.
I take every evaluation with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and also too, it's a little bit of a catch-22 because you want to be kind of, when people think about what you do, you want an objective look at it, but at the same time, as an artist and a singer, you also want an emotional reaction. That's part of what we do, is that we create a reaction in people. Sometimes that reaction is positive, sometimes the reaction is negative, and what will happen is they will respond based on a reaction that they get, as opposed to objectively being able to say, oh, well, that made me feel this way.
Yeah, very few people
and then
can
go that
separate
way, can
that.
separate it. Yeah.
So we're butting up against that, and
Yep.
that's really hard.
It's tough.
So, in the article we're talking about, when you get feedback, sometimes it seems personal, but it's not. Sometimes it seems personal, and it absolutely is.
Yeah.
So it can be such a
That's true.
frustration.
Yep. It's tough to determine that.
You're not alone, and this is just something that we all face, kind of no matter what job you do, So what we want to focus on today is what can you control to lessen the sting of these things and the hurt and the upheaval. This is what we're after, right? So what I and what Norman and I both try to do is look at, like, what can I do in this situation? And we had to be really honest with ourselves about how we were listening to colleagues, how we were speaking about colleagues, even just with each other. So I just wrote, like, do you listen to other singers with the aim to find fault?
Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you feel, are you happy secretly or publicly when somebody doesn't do well on stage?
Yeah.
Are you doing it, and do you find it fun? Because when you habitually, this is why this is toxic. Besides the fact that it's not good to do, it's toxic for you.
Yeah.
And we believe that when you engage in such activities habitually, now everybody says a dumb thing from time to time. Okay, this is not about being perfect all the time, because we're not going to be.
That isn't going to work.
And sometimes I'll fall into some sort of thing. I'm like, what are you saying today? What's wrong with you? You just clean that up,
Yep.
But if this is your habitual position, you are unleashing a cycle of judgment and fear onto yourself.
It will
You're
reciprocate.
doing it to yourself.
Yeah, it comes back on you.
And do you want to read sort of why we feel like we can say that?
Right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you evaluate people with a certain measure or subversive agenda, you instantly filter the feedback and motives of others through that same filter back onto yourself. and it's inevitable. So basically it's that, however, it really is kind of a reciprocal thing. If you absorb how people observe you in these negative ways, in these critical ways, and then return it.
I think it starts with you. Like if you are putting that out into the world and you're like sitting, if you go to the opera or you go wherever with just the purpose of trying to find that fault
find
in
the things
somebody else,
that are wrong. Yeah.
How could you possibly not think that people are doing the same thing to you? When we're in the audience somewhere, we're not stupid. We hear when somebody plays a wrong note or maybe it doesn't sound good, but it is not our position anymore. Okay, we used to be great at,
being overly critical. That's it.
But mostly our position is, my goodness, we're hearing a really gifted person, and aren't we fortunate to hear that? But that's, that, how can I say? I think sometimes people feel like that could be sort of weak to be like that, like you're not, I don't know. But you end that cycle.
Yep.
When you engage that way. So just think about that. Like I said, evaluate it.
Yeah. And then that actually brings us into the second point, which is...
And again, this is all going to be on the livingopera.org website as an article, a full article. You can print it out, read it over, highlight the parts you like, cross out the parts you don't agree with, whatever you want to do. But it's just going to be there as a resource for you, so you can go back and really think about these points point by point in a more succinct way. When you're reading from an article, when you read, you're trying to be natural, right? We could just read the article to you, but anyway, so our next point is the fear of criticism. So our point today, we're exposing these fears, but we're looking at the root causes of them to try and catch ourselves before we engage in that junk. Because wouldn't you just rather be doing something else? I know I would be.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, I mean, one of the things, and we were talking about this earlier, is that the point of this particular kind of a thing is that most fear is irrational.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't feel irrational.
It doesn't feel irrational, but there's a lot of fears. Now, we're not talking about fears like, bombs are falling on my head and so I'm afraid. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about, and your example was, what are they saying about me on social media?
Yeah.
We're talking about this kind of stuff.
Let me just clear it up for you. Someone's not going to like you. Someone doesn't like me. Someone doesn't like Norman. Okay?
It's true.
So let's just move past that.
It's really hard to believe.
Someone doesn't like you.
Somebody doesn't like us.
I mean, they're
That's
crazy.
Terrible.
But anyway, they don't. So, fear of criticism. So, my point is that all of these fears are rooted, I believe, the root. And we discussed this. He read it the first time. I was like, I'm not sure about that. And I was like, what about this and this? But, I love to be argumentative. So I eventually won the argument, whether I'm right or not, I don't know. So, but I believe that all four of these points are rooted in the fear of being judged as a root point.
Yeah.
But the solution is always the same, that the change starts here with you. It's not out there. Even if it's somebody else's fault, it's still not out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because our reaction is everything.
There you go.
So the fear of criticism is irrational also because you can't avoid it, especially if you're a performer. You are going to be criticized. Now, hopefully, unless it's something that really needs to change in your technique or whatever, your agent can just sort of filter that and be like, okay, that's nonsense. Unless you have a persistent problem that keeps coming up again. But you know what I mean? Mostly it's not that. Okay, well, I'm losing my train of thought. Where is this? Yeah, I just did a song too.
You didn't say fun though.
Mine was just syllabic. It didn't have words.
Oh my goodness. I think the fun came from Winnie the Pooh.
Are you serious?
It's a Ticker song.
Did you just plagiarize your song?
I think I plagiarized it. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Okay, listen. So, okay, we put it out there. You're going to be criticized. We know it. Okay. Don't like it, but still. To distance yourself from that and hopefully, get as free as you can from that, I think we have to understand the difference between being critical for the sake of being critical, the toxic kind, versus critical thinking, which everybody needs to survive.
We have to have,
if you can't think critically, you cannot survive in the world.
Yep.
Right? So, would you just read this part?
Yeah. And so this is a great kind of summation. The critical thinking means I'm able to evaluate a situation through the lens of objectivity. No matter how I'm feeling, no matter what's going on, I'm able to kind of separate that part out and focus and look at something.
Yes.
The example we would use is if, you do a performance, you do a concert, and you are thinking about that and you're basically focusing on everything that went wrong. And as opposed to, am I able to look at what I did and break it down and find the positive things, the good things, and am I able to take that and then build excellence from it?
Yes.
Am I just trying to break it down to break itself down, or am I building something that's going to help me be better? And
it works both ways.
And it
'Cause,
works
like,
absolutely
also, if you
both
do a
ways.
great performance, there's always something you can improve.
Yeah.
So this is about
exactly.
trying to find balance, and I use this term, commanding yourself
Yeah.
into excellence. Commanding yourself into
Yeah.
excellence.
And also, it's good. It's a tricky balance, but it can be easily achieved when you remain open to change and flexible.
Yes.
And sometimes, I know for myself, flexibility can be an issue.
Absolutely.
You know,
I think
so,
for all of us. When you're having to grow and change, it sucks.
Yep.
Because you're wobbly. It's
Yep.
like when you learn how to walk. Like you fell down a bunch of times.
You did. Well, I probably did. And also,
we all did.
and then, but also to having a good team around you.
Yeah, which we talked about in our
which we've talked about
team talk where we were comatose from
is really
massages.
important. So, learning how to develop critical objective thinking will kind of free you from relying on people's opinions.
Yes.
Whether or not you're giving them permission or not.
Or bad opinions.
That's true.
We have to
be
remain
careful how.
sort of unfazed, and it's not that we're not appreciative.
Yep.
I love it if somebody loves Norman's singing or my singing or whatever.
Sure,
we
it's
do.
great.
That's awesome,
Yep.
but I can't let it get too far into my nervous system because I might start craving it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron says one word in Jimmy-sco. Yeah, you did a beautiful.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate it. I tried.
So
I gave it my best shot.
no, it was great. It was really good, and we can hear that it was good.
Thanks.
We're using our objectivity.
We're using our objectivity. It was good.
So, okay.
There you go.
But anyway, the point is that if you don't learn the difference between critical thinking versus just being critical,
Yeah.
again, you're unleashing that back onto yourself, and that's
Hey, Mark.
that's not what you want.
Yep.
Okay, our next point is the fear of rejection.
Are we gonna do that? But we're stopping there, right?
Well, we've been on for a half hour, and I
hour.
think we can edit out the preamble part and just get to the top when I edit it to
Yeah.
YouTube. I think we can get through the
You
whole
wanna
thing.
do the whole thing?
I think it's okay. No? Or you want to quit now?
Oh no, I think we should.
You want to make it a two-parter?
I think we should make it a two-parter.
Alrighty. Norman wants to make it a two-parter.
But I could be wrong. We can keep going. It's really good. So, what do you think?
It's fine. We can make it a two-parter. No, I'm serious.
But it's up to you.
Give me a sip of water.
Some water. We're taking a water pause. That's right.
I think I'd like to get this published as soon as possible, but
The whole thing?
well, we can do it tomorrow.
You wanna do it tomorrow?
Sure. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow we're on TV all day, right?
Yeah, tomorrow on TV all day. I don't think we can do it tomorrow. We'd have to do it like Tuesday.
I think we should just power through.
Power through. Here we go.
Fear
All
of-
right,
fear
number
of rejection.
3. Get ready,
So-
everybody.
And again, like we're saying, we are speaking from our experiences and what helped us, right? So I have found that the fear of rejection, at least for me and for Norman, it cropped up when we felt like we had experienced abandonment. And as I observed other people, I saw actually that seems to be the root cause. Fear
Yeah.
of rejection and abandonment were really
Yeah.
closely linked.
Yep.
Those people usually have those people, us, and other people. Oh, okay. Good, Christine. Well, we're glad you're here, Christine. Yay.
Hello.
The fear of rejection, people who suffer from that usually have broken relationships. We did. Broken relationships. Sometimes even at the family level. So that sucks. And what it does is it causes people to develop, what's called like a thick skin and put up a lot of walls because they're afraid, and that makes sense. In a sense, I wrote in the article, this is an understandable irrational fear.
Yeah, very.
Because you don't want to go through that every time you invest in a relationship, so it makes sense. But what we have found to be effective, and kind of the only way to really get over this fear, is to practice forgiveness. And I mentioned this before in our talk about rejection.
Yep.
But forgiving someone doesn't
really
mean
big.
I'm excusing what they did.
No.
What they did 9 times out of 10 was probably wrong.
Yep.
Probably even 10 times out of 10. But
Chances are
the
good.
thing is, if we wait around for an apology or for someone to do the right thing or whatever, if you're stuck in a toxic cycle of trauma and feeling rejected, man, you can't move on from that. And the whole point is to move on from this junk.
Yep.
So practicing forgiveness just gets you out of the cycle. You say, I forgive this person. I'm going to exit out of this situation. And when I'm doing it, I do it out loud, and I do it until I really feel at rest. It might not happen on the first try.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is one of those things where to deal with these kinds of things, if it's traumatic things, you may need to go talk to somebody.
We did.
Until you can get to a point where you can forgive them. Because a lot of what not a lot, but it's a part of what forgiveness is, which is when I forgive somebody, I'm able to lay down what they did and move on with my life. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean you forget it, and it doesn't mean, like Sula said, it doesn't mean you excuse the behavior or excuse what happened. But there's this cut that you make in that, and you're able to separate yourself from it and then go on. And
that's right.
And so at that point, there's where it's very freeing. You are literally freed from it.
Yeah, you're extricating yourself out of it.
And that's it.
And being like, okay, so I'm done with this particular part of it. Of course, you're going to have the memory, and you can store that memory up as wisdom. So you make it,
And that's the thing about it. That's actually a good point, is that will turn into something that you can use to help other people.
Yeah,
it will turn into wisdom.
What weird.
That's what it will. I hope. It will turn into wisdom, and to say, hey, be careful with this. Don't do this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So,
but it removes, you
but it
won't
removes
feel
that emotional.
you can
baggage.
actually feel bitterness.
Oh, big time.
When you feel bitter about a situation. I mean, I know that myself, when I felt something bitter, I can literally feel it in my chest, and it just feels really bad. And so I don't want to feel like that.
Yep.
And I can control how I feel. I can't control what people do that sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to control what I can do.
And that's the thing about this particular thing, is that a lot of this has to do with dealing with or managing what reactions these things create in you. If it's judgment, if it's criticism, if it's rejection, then it's about controlling the fact that it does not have to affect me in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's not that you're going to erase it, and it's not going to happen. If you're going to erase this stuff, to erase these things, you have to basically extract yourself out of humanity.
So you can't do that.
And so you can't do that.
No.
And so that means that if we're going to have to deal with people, which we are and we should, then we need to be able to build things up in ourselves that help us manage when the judgment, the criticism, the rejection, and then we go into the next one. When those things come, then we know how to deal with them.
That's right.
And absorb it and move on.
That's right.
So, and then of course the last one, the final.
All right, we're getting through. So
Today,
the last one is fear of failure.
Fear of failure.
And when I was sort of meditating on this and thinking about writing this, what came to me is that the fear of failure is tied to a strong desire to avoid feeling shame.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because when we try, we're risking.
Mm-hmm.
And when you risk, hello, what is happening to my camera? Why did it turn dark all of a sudden?
I don't know. It still looks the same.
It's really weird.
It does.
Okay, well anyway, when we're risking
the
something...
light changed. I think the light
the light changed.
Oh, the light changed outside. The sun changed, yeah.
Okay.
It stayed the same.
I'm trying to make like a serious point, and I'm like,
sorry.
how does my face look? Okay, excuse me.
It looks great.
But when you try, right,
Yeah.
you're risking something, and when we all have inevitably faced failure, yeah, it stings, it hurts, right? But persistent feelings of failure can have some people falling into a pattern of shame, and it can be paralyzing.
Yep.
And we certainly had maybe not such visible areas of that, but certain things where there has been. I mean, I've had things where I felt paralyzed because.
Oh,
of
it
shame.
is. It can be
And,
because if you fail, quote unquote,
Yeah.
fail enough, then you can kind of lose your drive to achieve or create anything. Because there's something to remember about failure. There's an aspect of failure that is creative.
yeah,
Because generally when
not
you
hard.
fail, you're trying to do something.
right.
And many of the things is, what was it, Thomas Edison that said before he found the light bulb, before the light bulb worked, I don't remember how many hundreds or thousands of things he tried and failed at before he found it. And so there's a creative aspect, there's a teaching aspect to failure. But the truth of the matter is when, you fail so much, it can chip away at that drive and that
Yes.
determination to keep going, because it really can be a paralyzing
Yes.
thing. It's a paralytic, and so failure is it's really an interesting thing because there's that creativity comes through failure, because you won't achieve something, you won't succeed in something unless you fail and go through the failure, get to the other side, because the failure teaches you. But at the same time, failure can be so destructive.
I always had to Marion. Marion, aren't you sick of seeing us?
I know, right?
But look,
Anyway,
Marion, we're talking about some serious stuff today.
I know, right?
So, yeah, I agree with everything you said. Obviously, it's in the article. But I also wrote that failure is as much perceived
Yeah,
as it is real.
that's true.
And a lot of our problem is our perception is off. And it has to do with your expectations of a certain situation, the outcome you think it should have. And oftentimes people who are suffering from fear of failure, I speak from experience, they're suffering from low self-esteem, low self-worth.
Yeah.
And they build up sort of a really shiny exterior, fall into people pleasing, but all that crumbles through disappointment. So the way that we learned to deal with that was to sacrifice our comfort and to come out of it and just be honest. We started talking about it, basically. Hey, Stefania. Hi.
Hey.
And I wrote that shame is like a cocoon of
Thanks, Erin.
just
Take care, buddy.
nastiness.
Yep.
And we can sort of retreat into it to explain certain things in our lives and fall into self-pity. And we have all done it. That is not an accusation. I've done it. You've done it. It's
We've
just,
all done
I remember
it.
one time when
Oh, it is.
you looked at me and you said, remember when we took the Enneagram
Which
test and
time?
you said something about the four thing, and that doesn't make any
what?
sense. You were like, sometimes I just feel like no one in the world ever understands.
Oh,
I was like, really? Like, it was,
Well, no, there's a
well, no, we don't get into that because it's going to take too long to explain.
Yeah,
it.
that's
like,
true.
But basically, I was like,
Part of my
is
personality.
Is your heart a drama queen?
So yeah, but is my heart a drama queen?
What
Because
is
my
happening?
basic personality is shy and reserved.
But
then
internally?
I'm a performer, and so I was wondering, why is it that I'm shy, but I can still perform? And it's part of it because an inner personality. And she was like, and it's a little bit of a drama queen.
That's like,
So there you
what's
go.
happening?
There it is.
So and mine, what I've had to push through is, Stein's like, Nora's heart is a drama queen. What I had to push through was superficiality, really worrying about my appearance, worrying what people thought of me. And so those two things are just toxic and stupid. So, and just they suck. So, and
they suck. That's the lesson.
There you go. Bye.
Today, guys. Everybody, bye. See
no,
you.
but how can I say, to step out of shame and out of that kind of feeling of failure, it's just going to take you confronting it and saying, you know what, yeah, I made a bad choice, and yeah, like I wasted time, and yeah, I did some stuff that wasn't a valuable experience, because we've all done it.
Or you just did something dumb.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Right.
It's okay.
So, but the thing
Because
is,
that's what happens.
what I find helpful.
Hey, Ben.
What I find hopeful in that is that it's never too late to start making good choices. And
Yep.
I call them healthy, sane choices.
Yes.
A sane choice is a healthy choice.
Same.
And
What does that mean?
Huh? It's the
I'm
opposite
kidding.
of insanity, babe. You got it. Sorry. I was too busy reading it to get what was happening all in this.
Just put it right there.
But the turnaround, after having made a bad choice, persistent bad choice, turning it around is always quicker
You can change.
than
You can
how
change.
long it took to build up until the point that you actually need help, right? So that's hopeful.
Yep.
And so we found that exposing these things, I mean, by first simply talking to each other, because we weren't even
That's a
talking
big
to each
one.
other.
Communication is huge in all of this.
Yes.
Communication is huge.
Yeah, but
Yep.
but you're afraid.
Yep.
Even if you love
That's right.
someone and you're married and you're open, sometimes to really get deep into what's happening.
But still, it's a vulnerability
Yes,
that can be fearful. It can be
but if you can do it, it really
terrifying.
builds trust. After we
Yep.
faced each other, then we faced our families, and then we faced our colleagues,
Faced other
and that's how this whole project was born.
Yep.
Because as our colleagues, as we told our story, they were like, "Well, we experienced that too,"
Sure.
and we thought, "Oh my gosh, like."
well, I mean, it's kind of
It might seem obvious, but people.
Well,
if people
it's
don't
not
say
obvious,
it,
but
then-
people don't. Everybody experiences it, but nobody talks about it.
Yes.
That was one of the big things. Everybody's experiencing all this stuff, but nobody ever says anything, which is just idiotic.
Well, but I
But
think there's a whole bunch of reasons for
There are
that.
a lot of reasons for that. Sorry, I don't mean.
So I know.
And I've been the person who hasn't talked about it. That means I'm calling myself an idiot.
There you go.
And that's okay.
That's the moral of this.
That's the moral of this
everyone.
story. I'm an idiot, everybody. Have a great day.
No, but just in conclusion, there are ways. Everybody suffers from fear.
Yep.
And even when you've conquered certain things, other things will crop up. It's being a human, all of this, it's an ongoing thing.
Process. Yep.
And each person develops their own way to manage fear. And hopefully you can take these points and transform it and get into a new place of self-development.
Yeah.
That is our...
And find your own way with it.
Yes. That is
These
our
things,
hope with
when
that.
you look at, our hope is that you will look at these things and confront these things. However you confront them and deal with them
Yes.
in a healthy way, that's what we want. If you use what we've talked about or what we're talking about to do that with, that's awesome.
Yes.
But if you
might find your own way
you
to do
find
it.
your own way to do it. But the biggest thing is that we do have to confront these things. That's just kind of a universal. That's what everybody has to do.
Yeah.
Is that we have to confront these things. And so
That's it.
that's it.
The full article will be
Yeah.
online. Of course, this video will be online as well. The Living Opera website is live. It's www.livingopera.org.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
And
So
we're going to be on TV all day tomorrow on Medici
watch
TV.
us on TV, everybody. It's going to be hilarious.
So,
We're gonna
hosting the Nielsen competition.
2 opera singers talking about flutes.
Well, I was a flutist. It's all good.
She was
Anyway, guys.
I had a great time.
Yeah, and you
And I really enjoyed listening.
And you did awesome. And the flutists
Oh,
were
thanks.
amazing.
The
So,
flutes
guys,
are amazing,
we
so
hope
it's
you
not
have-
that hard. You just talk about how good everybody is.
Well, yeah, because they were all world
They were all
class and
fantastic.
insanely good. So
Insanely
there you go.
good.
Guys, we hope you have a wonderful rest of
Yes.
your weekend.
Have a great day.
We will see you next week. We're not sure what the topic is yet. I've
Yep.
got an idea though.
If you have any ideas,
Or
let
if you
us
have any
know.
questions,
If you have any questions,
then please submit your
please.
questions and we'd be happy to tailor a conversation around you.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to go on our own agenda, I guess, and do our own stuff. I did have actually a really great question last week, so I'll delve into that. But this one was, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
But this one was really on my heart just to get this out there. I felt
Yeah.
like people really needed it. So hope you have a great Sunday and just enjoy
Thanks
your
for
time.
watching.
And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.